What's going on? How are y'all doing? Today's topic. Today's topic is about, can I sponsor my spouse as a resident? And yes, it is possible. Now let's talk about it. Let's talk about why, this is what the pros and cons are, because I know that's a major concern. And so as you're tuning in live, welcome to the show. If you have any questions, you're welcome to drop it in the comment section. I'll see if I can answer it. But the main thing that people always ask when they call in about about filing as a spouse and you're a resident is, can that spouse who is undocumented get status while in America? And there's just so much to consider. And one of them, folks, is about it's about failure to maintain status, okay, and unlawful presence. Now, if it's immediate relative classification where the sponsor is a U.S. citizen, then that means it's a huge benefit. So that's why maybe a lot of people out there joke around and say, "Why don't you just get married to a U.S. citizen? That'll just make your life easier." Well, we all know finding the right match is very difficult. So, but legally, the reason why it's easier in the sense, not in terms of case processing, because we all know that's delayed too, unfortunately, by USCIS. But the key benefit is that marrying to a US citizen will waive the unlawful presence. Okay. Now, if this is you can, if you have entered the United States with a visa, if you entered the United States without a visa, entered illegally without any kind of visa document, then you do have to go back to your country eventually for the visa interview. Of course, before you were to leave, you need to first be eligible for a family unity waiver and apply for it and then get that approved. So, a lot of people think that they're somehow automatically eligible for a waiver. Unfortunately, adult children, do not count as a qualifying relative. So that's just something to consider. But even if your spouse is so here's a strategy call. If you are a spouse who is a resident and you entered without a visa, or if the beneficiary, the spouse, entered without a visa, then applying as a sponsored permanent resident, that's an easier call, an easier decision to make, and not waiting until the sponsor becomes a U.S. citizen, because you need to apply for a waiver. So there's no sense in waiting in that with that respect, with those facts. However, if your spouse is in the process of already applied to become a U.S. citizen or currently a U.S. citizen, then you go ahead and file that way, right? You don't have to. But the key thing, okay, folks, is that if you entered without a visa, then number one, you have obviously entered without inspection, so that's a strike in that sense. But let's say you did enter with a visa, and you overstayed your visa. That's the very common scenario. Then you don't want to leave the US, right? You entered the US with a visa originally. So why would you need to leave? So instead of having to apply for a waiver based on your unlawful presence, you kindly ask your spouse, okay, that's a permanent resident, to apply to become a citizen. Because hot tip here, save y'all some money, is that if you failure to take this strategy, okay, of your spouse becoming a US citizen, then you're going to have to pay more money to USCIS for the waiver. That's $930, I believe. And then travel costs, because then you eventually have to have the visa interview abroad. Let's just chalk that up to at least $500 to $1,000 for flight costs, hotel. There's just so many more expenses if your spouse, who's a resident, is just hesitant to become a U.S. citizen to apply. There's a bunch of resources out there. Learning ESL, English as a second language. Whether you practice a certain religious faith or not. I mean, I know a lot of churches in America, at least in Texas, they offer ESL classes for free. But even if you didn't do it at a community college here, or a church. Oh, I'm sorry, if you didn't take those classes at a church, community colleges also offer a lower cost ESL class. But there's also YouTube, right? So there are options. Okay, please don't take no for an answer in that sense, or don't limit yourself. Okay, take the next step so you can help your family members out. So kindly ask your spouse to become a U.S. citizen. That will save you a lot of headache, a lot of cost, because there's no sense in needing to apply for a waiver if you enter with a visa, the most recent entry. Um, $930 again, and not everyone even. You may think you not don't even have a strong case for waiver. Fortunately, we've been approved for every single waiver application except one, and that's because, knock on wood, that's because the spouse didn't want to cooperate anymore. Okay, they didn't want to be together anymore. But other than that, and it wasn't every case did not have the apparent hardship facts. Like most people assume, oh, I need to have someone sick in my family, something like that. No, it does not require it. Helps the waiver application, but sickness, diseases, medical conditions are not required. Okay, to help you get approved for the waiver application. So, anyways, you want to avoid it anyway if you enter with a visa. So you just got to get your spouse to become a U.S. citizen first. But the super hot tip right here, folks, is that if your spouse who's a resident has a pretty good idea, they've committed to you, that they pledged that they're going to apply to become a U.S. citizen. And some people ask, well, should I go ahead and just file the petition as a resident right now? No, you don't have to, because when you do end up being a U.S. citizen, it's going to cost you again. You're going to have to refile a new petition. Okay. Unfortunately, it is not, they don't just accept a copy of your naturalization certificate with the current first petition. Okay. A lot of people assume that, but the law, the USCIS policy manual, does not allow for it. So thanks for jumping on our show, greencardguys.tv. If you're on Instagram but want to see me share my screen, things like that, you're welcome to jump onto YouTube. It's greencardguys.tv. And by the way, folks, we do offer free 15-minute preliminary discussion. Okay, more like a consultation. Help you point you in the right direction, share information like this that we just go a little bit more detailed so you have an idea of the strategy. And yeah, if you have any questions, welcome to drop in the comment section. And to unlock those free 15 minutes, you have to take a quiz. It's really just answering a couple questions on our website, greencardguys.com. I can share on my YouTube and Facebook screen here how to do that. But you can go to greencardguys.com. On the homepage, there's two options. On the homepage, you can click on take a quiz and it'll take you straight to the form. So currently it does allow you to self-schedule right after completing that form, but pretty soon we might be removing that, because I don't know why it is, but when people self-schedule, it seems to turn out that people just don't show up. So it blocks out time that we could have given to someone else, because we do have pretty significant wait times right now. No, not like USCIS, fortunately, but want to make sure we're able to answer your question, right? And people don't show up. That's not right. That takes up a lot of time and delays your question, right? So if you don't mind, if you do complete the form and you select a time to have that consultation, please show up and please check your audio connection before. We use Dialpad as our primary right now for the video conference, and we really try to make it easy for y'all. You don't even have to download anything. We don't use Zoom. We can, but not everyone has Zoom. So really to save y'all time. Okay, folks. So we have Dialpad right now. When you pick a time on our consultation page, Calendly, then it sends you an email automatically right after. Okay, for email confirmation, appointment confirmation by email. And so, folks, if for some reason it's cool, if for some reason things pop up and you're busy, totally cool. Just click on like reschedule or something like that. Or if you found another lawyer you think is better suited for you, all good. just click on cancel and we'll be on our way. We just prefer that we don't have block time and people don't show up because that's pretty what do you call the team is defeated. They feel bad if that when that happens. Okay, folks. And by the way, if you are just thinking about which options and which pathway, maybe your case is stuck, like a mandamus type of case, even based on marriage, and your case has been taking 20 plus months, for example, whether it's here in the United States, beneficiary net foreign national here in the US, or abroad, and it's taken 20 plus months, that's a problem. So you definitely have an option. It's called filing mandamus lawsuit. Now, sometimes we're able to get the results without even filing lawsuit at all. Someone the other day asked me if it's like a retaliation letter. No, it's if anything, is more like a demand letter. But we us attorneys, not everyone has these good connections. Not trying to like say I have the best contacts or anything, but compare to anyone else. But we do try to resolve your case sooner without filing a lawsuit. And I just got an email today, for example. I'm trying to remember which state it was, but actually, yeah, it was in Western District of Texas. And one attorney did respond back, U.S. attorney, saying they're going to try to see what information they can get so we can avoid the litigation, to avoid the lawsuit. And so that can save you court costs, number one, and a bunch of time. Okay, so, but we do charge the same because it's using our contacts. Um, let's see what else. So, if you are just trying to find information and interested about any of these possible options and you're just not ready to call us, I understand. It's all good. Check us out on our website. You can see the reviews even on Google page. But I'm going to try and share my screen on YouTube and Facebook. You can see that we do offer a free guide. Okay. I know it's kind of weird on Instagram because I'm pointing, but but I'm pointing here. Go ahead and make a follow right here and bookmark our page if you don't mind. And if you know anyone that has a problem, similar problem, welcome to bookmark our video and then share it with your friend. But yeah, on YouTube and Facebook, you'll see this popular guide called Mandamus Sue for Status. And unfortunately, this is the worst case scenario and the last option that you may have if you have a long pending case. So this guide on our is a PDF. You just download it from our website, and you get all we need is your email, of course, to be honest. But so you can receive information about our law firm. And anyway, it contains common questions and answers. And the most common one is, will hey, what's up, Marlon? Nice to see you. The most common question is, will suing any government U.S. immigration agency mean that your case will be denied? No. I mean, sometimes your case is already denied because it shows visa refuse, but even that doesn't always mean your case is denied. Okay. Sometimes it's the visa refuse does mean 221G administrative processing these days as well. So you need to take the next step. Okay, you need to take action in your case. And again, we don't always have to sue the government, but we can contact our local U.S. attorneys of your district court. It can't be done for every one of them because you have to have a good relationship with these U.S. attorneys. You can't just like bombard them suddenly and say, "Hey, I demand my status." That's not how it works. If you were to contract with us, this is authorize us to help you. For example, you're also paying for a good rapport with these U.S. attorneys. Okay, we don't just like come in there with our fist up or anything like that. We really try to share the information in a kind way, a friendly way. Life is short, so we don't send like a full on demand letter like some people might expect. Um, but anyways, go to our website greencardguides.com and you can download any of those guides to help you in the meantime. And so hopefully you took away some tips here. I think the hottest tip here is if your spouse who's a resident right now and thinking about becoming a U.S. citizen or applied or about to apply, and you're thinking about should I just go ahead and file the petition as a resident, you're going to have to refile it after you become a U.S. citizen. So as a sponsor, so it is no sense in doing that. Even though Now, this is if the person, the beneficiary, foreign national immigrant, is in the US, which is the most common scenario of calls that we get. But if you're already abroad, if you're outside America, then you just go ahead and file as a resident, because the visa bulletin currently, the past year or so at least, for F2A category, family preference, it's it's current. So as soon as your petition's approved, you can go on to the next step, and you don't have as much waiting time in terms of the fiscal year visa allocation. There's still a wait time in the sense that it could take another 6 months just to get the visa interview, but there's no delay in terms of waiting another year or 2 years down the line. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Let's see here. So if you got any questions, again, please drop in the comments. Thanks for joining. Yeah, press the click the hearts on Instagram if you enjoy the way we share information, and please click on the like button on YouTube and Facebook, and we greatly appreciate it. Let's see here. I can just share a lot of information here. So other tips on, back to the main topic of the day: can I sponsor my spouse as a resident? Again, the thing is that unlawful presence, failure, and the other one is failure to maintain status. Some people think that, if you are here in the U.S. and you've overstayed your there's a couple scenarios, but the first one, if you overstayed your visa, that just because your spouse is a resident, has some kind of immigration status, that you can file a petition. Sure, yeah, you can file a petition, but the thing is that you're gonna have to apply for a waiver. And the waiver these days, family unity waiver specifically, because there's a couple different ones. Ooh, when I checked about a week ago, let me see if I can pull it up on my screen here on YouTube. But it was 30 months. It was ridiculous. So why would you delay your 30 months? And if your spouse were to become a US citizen, apply for that, that's not going to take 30 months. That's average 12 months. And actually, folks, in Dallas, we've experienced at least 3 clients in the past month or so, at least 3, maybe even 5. The past month or so, we filed it, and then they got the interview in about a month, 1 or 2 months. It was quick, so quick, which is great for our clients. But then I don't want every single person here assuming that USCIS will speed it up like that. But imagine that if that were the case, let's just say 3 months waiting after you filed your N400 application to become a U.S. citizen, naturalization, versus waiting 30 months for your waiver application. That's just should be a no-brainer. That should be easy decision, that your spouse who's a resident apply to become a U.S. citizen. So you really want to try to encourage your spouse to apply, okay? Because that will save you a lot of time and a lot of headache and a lot of fees. Okay, so I just think it's a no-brainer, but I could be wrong, maybe. But let me see if I can share processing time here on YouTube. And can y'all hear me okay? Want to make sure it's working. All my mics are working because I have several here. Okay, so let me share my screen on YouTube. So if you're on Instagram and you're wondering how to see it, unfortunately, I'm not able to share it on Instagram. Just my software doesn't work like that. But on YouTube and Facebook, you can see it. Okay, so what I've done is I like to share what I'm looking at, so it's the truth. Of course, everything on YouTube, you got to fact check it, right? So I'm trying to help save you time on the fact checking. So you go to USCIS processing times. You can Google search it. It should take you straight here, and then I'm clicking on drop down the form 601A, and click on the category. Click on the service center. I'm just gonna click on Nebraska Service Center. And right now, yikes, 34 months. Okay. 80% of cases are completed in 34 months for after you file the 601A application. This is not after you file the petition, because that's a different application. Okay. Some people might get confused about that. Let me click on other service center, Potomac. Ooh, Ooh, that is just gross. That's ridiculous. 39.5 months. Okay, so again, if you have the scenario where your spouse is a resident and can, they might not be 100% comfortable with English. I think it's really okay. There's a lot of resources on there. We have a course program. It's for free. It's included for you as a client, or you can take a practice quiz um, to become, to take that test. Most of it is, number one, it's 10 questions for the English test, the civics. I'm sorry, civics test. But if you get the first six right, you're done. You don't have to do the other four questions. Okay, so really, the government's saying, but you get 10 chances basically in that sense. You get 10 questions or four more chances, I guess. So yeah, it's definitely possible. Plus, we have a lot of flashcards, things like that. There's just really no excuse so that your spouse can help you in the future. Okay, folks. So yeah, if you're on YouTube and Facebook, you see this ridiculousness. 39.5 months at Potomac Service Center, and Nebraska was, I think, 34 months. That's just nonsense, in my opinion. Okay, so let's see here, folks. If you have any questions, you're welcome to drop it in the comment section. We do have, if you're just joining us, welcome. Appreciate it. We do have a new feature on our website. I haven't released it yet to everyone, but I want to share it with y'all here because I see Abraham just joined. It's called support page, essentially, for our clients. You can, if you want to change your address, you want to submit a case update request, you could do that on our website. Okay, not everyone has access to this because you have to be a client to do this. And then we do have two different appointment types for clients. That is a follow up. Okay, just anything follow up. You just want to talk about your case. That's cool. Or there's another one, a box for another appointment type that's for interview prep. Okay, so that's a benefit of our law firm because of interview prep, preparing you for the interview, whether it's the interviews abroad, okay, for fiance visa or consular processing for a marriage case, or even here in the United States. We offer you that opportunity to, um, number one, watch our video series of videos to help prepare you. But number two, if you're in a max plan, we offer three plans. If you're in the max plan, we do offer you the opportunity to self-schedule an appointment for interview prep. I think that's where a lot of the value is, because we've received a lot of calls where, unfortunately, even if they had a lawyer, I was really disappointed when I heard this, but when you had a lawyer, they didn't get prepared. There was no video, no, the way things are in 21st century, law firms should have some kind of video, at least one, to prepare you. I just think that if they don't have any kind of video, they're just not on top of it, okay, to prepare you. Because, I know at least how I was running the law practice before several years ago, it can get difficult in terms of scheduling. I don't want to delay your interview prep because we're booked with a lot of other appointments, right? Because I can get backlogged. So it's always better that you get some kind of information to prepare you for the interview in advance if you want to have another meeting. So anyway, that's our thought process to make it easier for you to win, to get your legal status. Just makes sense, doesn't it? So how's my lighting, by the way? I got so many lights here now that hopefully you can see my face. Okay, so because I know before, I know a couple other lawyers I know, they the look doesn't, you can't, it's too dark, too much shadow. So anyways, let's see here. Another situation that you might need to know about, and we'll cover it more later this week. I just have a couple more minutes here, is how can you close your case from court? Okay, a lot of people are concerned about that, and many of you are actually have some kind of application on file with USCIS, and you're wondering how to use that information for your benefit. Okay, because even though you have that application with USCIS, the government lawyers, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, they're not going to know about it unless you share those documents with them. Okay, so and you might provide it at the day of your hearing. I'm just assuming, you may not have a lawyer for your hearing, but even if you do have a lawyer for your hearing, I hope your lawyer provides that information to the government lawyer, and also the judge before it. Okay, so because these days with PD, prosecutorial discretion, the government and the judge, or government lawyers and the judge, are more likely these days to close out your case. Okay, meaning get it completely dismissed. You don't have to show up to court anymore. So these legal professionals, the judge and the government lawyer, they want certain information. Okay, so if you come to me and you call us and you say, "Well, I think I'm eligible for this," let's say like a marriage case, or you've been a victim of a crime or victim of abuse, we need to get those documents ready before the next court hearing. Okay, so that way, because the first court hearing or in any future ones, the judge wants to know what's the strategy here, attorney. So if you don't have a lawyer, I mean, it's going to delay the case, and eventually, judges could get a little frustrated. For example, I just appeared by not Zoom. They don't use Zoom, WebEx, for a client whose case is our first appearance on the case, but he had a case active since 10 years ago. So the judge is like, we got to get going on this case. Like it shouldn't be delayed, right? So that's unfortunately part of it is because it could be because government shut down before, or the prior lawyer just didn't have the proper information on file with the court. But in this situation, I believe the prior attorney did, from what I saw in the notes. So that's good. But that anyway, you need to think about that. You don't wait until the last second. Like, so if you have court hearing next week, hopefully you already talked to several lawyers, at least one. Okay. Talk to someone, talk to a professional, see if at least get some tips, if anything. Not saying you have to hire someone, but you want to make sure you're ready, because you shouldn't just show up to court and then just assume the judge will help you. They might point you in the right direction, I guess, but they're not obligated to do that. Okay. They're you haven't, you don't hire a judge. That would be considered bribery in that sense. But yeah, they don't have any legal obligation. Of course, as a human, some judges I've noticed give a little tip here and there, like maybe you want to consider filing, applying for using this application. Okay, but they have no obligation. Okay, I see a question on from Shafi Pasha, I believe 786. What is opportunity nursing for a nursing job in USA? From what I know, actually, there's a lot of opportunities. Okay. The only problem is for just jobs in general, if you're abroad, especially, is there's going to be a long wait time. Okay. A long wait time, if you're talking about like for green card processing, about a year and a half to 2 years minimum. Okay. Minimum. So in the meantime, you should apply for non-immigrant visa. The most common one is H-1B. So we're in mid-December right now. The registration to eventually apply for H-1B, okay, folks, is in March. It's like a two-step process, essentially. There's a lot of steps that the law firm has to help you with, but of course, two-step process is registration. They used to call it lottery. It's basically still a lottery because it's completely random selection. Doesn't matter if you have the best resume or not. They actually don't even ask for that information, thankfully, because it saved time. But that's the first step. Fortunately, I just got news last week that every single petition that we filed, that all the applicants that got picked up, selected in the lottery, got approved. Okay, folks. So that's a success story. Not saying that we can provide that result for you in the future, but that's just a testament to my team and how great we worked together to get these applications packages approved by the government. Because there were some where the USCIS asked for requests for evidence, and some people might think, oh, this means like we're gonna get denied. No, we fight back. Okay, on paper, of course, we fight back, and we explain to the government the legal reasons why this person should be approved. I find that some law firms, unfortunately, or some lawyers they just kind of give up for some reason. They think it's just kind of like, oh shoot, like USCIS got me. No, you gotta have a proper response. Okay, you gotta find a lawyer that's gonna do the research for you. Okay, and this can get a little dicey. Okay, when you're considering to hire a lawyer, some people might say, oh, it's going to cost extra to do this. It's going to cost extra to do the research. It's going to cost extra to respond to the request for evidence. We make that very clear in the beginning. If you were to consider hiring our team, we have three different plans: light, pro, and max. Of course, for employment based cases, we really recommend pro and max. I have to check with my team if we even offer light plan for those cases. But the really scenario is because we don't charge you hourly to do the research or to respond to requests for evidence when you pick the max plan because it's included. So it's really just trying to save you money, but you have to pay for it in advance. Okay, so that kind of give an idea. Let's see. I see a question from Marlon. Your question is, Sir John, does an address change slow down your I-130 when it's just filed? No, I don't believe so. Because it's really in the beginning stages. Again, the petitions, if you have an immediate relative classification, on average, it'll take probably 8 to 12 months, okay, for that petition. Now, there's just sometimes the petitions, whether it's family based or employment based, they could get approved in like a month or two, but that's not normal. So don't think if you heard from someone else that, oh, the petition was approved so quickly, can that happen for me? The answer is no. This is the default. Have the expectation is going to take a longer time, 8 to 12 months minimum. Now, if you have a family preference based petition, family petition, that's going to take longer. And it takes longer on purpose, even though it should be rubber stamped. But it's because of visa bulletin, right? You have to wait for your priority on a visa bulletin anyway. And in fact, if your applicant has a derivative, what we call children, it and they have a possible issue of aging out where they become over 21. Um, it's actually better for you if your petition takes longer for processing. I know it's completely weird. They got some kind of strange. I don't want to call it algorithm, but they got some kind of strange formula. Okay, that we help you with. Okay, figure out if your child that's over 21 is still protected or not. So, by the way, if your child is switching over to that real quick, if your child is over 21, um, and whether you did receive the welcome letter by email for that child or not, you still want to try to figure out if it's possible to include that child. Okay, don't give up just because the government didn't provide you, a new case number for that child. Do not give up, please, because then your child's gonna have to wait longer. You want to make sure you want to speak with a lawyer to see if it help you figure out that Child Status Protection Act formula. Okay, because sometimes the government, the National Visa Center, gets it wrong, right? So that's why you have to double, triple check. It's worth doing that. Okay, hopefully that helps. JM Kevuva, what are the options do people have for a pending asylum case to get a green card? And since you're a CNA caregiver, what are your options to get a green card specifically? Well, thank you so much for your question. Ooh, this is a common question that we receive as well because of you've applied for asylum, so you have the work permit, so that's great. But it's like it's kind of you have no status. You're in limbo, right? So, and the key thing I found that most people that apply for asylum, I could be wrong, but just the people that we talk to have entered with a visa. Okay. And I share that, there's because a couple scenarios. The other one is if you enter without a visa. But if you entered with a visa, then there's no issue about legal entry because you did that, right? But then the second issue is about um, two things that's different but sounds similar. They sound very similar. Okay. Failure to maintain status and unlawful presence. Many people get those two mixed up when it comes down to it. Okay. Let's say you filed the petition, you got through the prevailing wage, and all that. File petition, get approved, and then you can apply for adjustment of status, and then you get denied. I'm just looking at the worst case scenario and talking about other people, basically, without sharing details. But and then you receive a denial letter set for the 485 application for the residency green card, and it shows, well, you did not maintain your legal status, and of course you did, because you have pending asylum case still ongoing. And so a lot of people ask me, well, why is that? There are some cases on it, but unfortunately, it's not in y'all's favor right now. Hopefully, it could change. It'd be nice if it does, because I know there's a lot of folks that could be eligible for that. But I'm sure Congress doesn't want to reward people who've applied for asylum just to apply, because it doesn't. And I'm not saying you have, but there are some people that unfortunately take advantage of the system to get a work permit. So that's just the thinking of the Congress, I'm assuming, is that they don't want to encourage people to apply for asylum and then be able to adjust status while in the US. So what's the takeaway here, John? You need to apply for a waiver if you're eligible. Not everyone's eligible. It's qualifying relative. Okay, your quote unquote anchor in that sense is a parent or a spouse who's a U.S. citizen or resident. Now, if you have a spouse who has status, then of course you'd be like, well, why do I have to go through this whole employment process? You don't. But some people, actually, we have received calls about this. They're like, well, I have a spouse who has status, but yeah, I'm not. It's a little shaky, so I'm not too sure if I want to go through that way. So I'm like, okay, that's completely understandable, but you do need to apply for waiver. You're actually eligible because you have a spouse, but that waiver application, that's going to be way down the line. That's after prevailing wage. That's after the labor certification, and of course recruitment before that. And the labor certification, we just got one back today. Yikes! That is ridiculous. Department of Labor is ridiculous. We filed it in April, late April, I believe, and we just got it back today. That's 7 to 8 months waiting on Department of Labor. Again, another thing that should just be rubber stamped. So it's very frustrating for everyone. Sorry to share that, but it's very frustrating. It's a long journey for employment based, but it's possible. Okay. Okay. So JM Kivuva, let me know if you have any other questions. Welcome to contact us separately. We do have our phone number down below in the description box, and on YouTube, it's right above, up top. And let's see here. Let's check real quick. Have any other questions? But hopefully that helps. Yeah, I mean, nursing, I know a couple of y'all have asked today and the other day. Nursing is a very, I don't want to say popular field, but there's a lot of opportunity there because of pandemic, not as many nurses and even doctors, whether it's MD or otherwise, they don't want to work anymore or not as many hours. So there is opportunity out here in America for foreign nationals if you have that type of credentials, degrees, and experience. Okay, you want to take advantage of that. Even if you're abroad outside the U.S., it is possible. And we do have a free guide on our website, greencardguides.com. And you can scroll down to the bottom of the website, and you'll see one of those guides, and hopefully that'll point you in the right direction to get you started with knowledge. Okay, and folks, we really appreciate it. We're trying to go live every day. I will be live hopefully until Friday next week. The next couple of weeks is going to be really tough with the kiddos home. They're at school now. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. I got to be dad number one. And of course, I try to tell them lawyer number one, but they don't want to listen to that. So, okay, folks, I appreciate it. And until next time, stay safe.